Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. So with the recent arrival of the arena tournament for Dragon Brute, there has been a new plant of the week introduced. This being a concealment family plant called Noctarine. So Noctarine is the concealment family and really what's its purpose, I guess we can say. Well, that's what I want to discuss in this video. So we're going to take a look at if Noctarine is actually worth it. So Noctarine is a 150 sun cost plant that acts somewhat similar to a cherry bomb. But what makes it different to cherry bomb is that in the explosion that it deals, it leaves a shadow aura in a 3x3 area. Which if you've played PvZ2, you might know that it can boost shadow plants. So first of all, relate to what it can do. We're first gonna take a look at the shadow part, and then we're gonna focus on the damage part. So the shadow part is not really the best, I guess we could say. To compare it, we're gonna look at three other plants. That can do a somewhat similar job. These are being Moonflower, Concealment, and Gloomvine. So first is Moonflower. Moonflower is a sun producer, which by itself is somewhat unimpressive. But when you plant other moonflowers around it or other shadow plants around it, that is a whole different story. As she can get boosted and will produce a shockingly high amount of sun, like a lot of it. And it also has a plant food, which is unimpressive. And another thing is that it can produce shadow aura, boosting other plants. And the second one is concealment, which first of all, when planted, it will drag a certain amount of zombies to the ground, kind of acting like another concealment family plant that I forgot the name, but anyway, yeah, kind of acts like that. And another thing is that it produces shadow aura. Well, kind of. You see, what it basically does is that it boosts every single shadow plant, but what it does is that it gives them their powered form, basically meaning that it gives them their form if they were boosted by the shadow aura of a moonflower. And the third plant is Gloomvine. Now Gloomvine is probably the one that doesn't really use the same purpose as the other plants that we talked about, but I still felt like mentioning it here because, well, it can also produce the shadow aura, so why not? So Gloomvine is a vine that can produce shadow aura in a 1x1. Yes, so basically the tile you planted it on, there will be shadow aura. And while most players probably don't use it for the shadow aura part, like planting something like Nightshade or something on top of it. And you can also use it for a bunch of other combos, like maybe placing it on a walnut or something, and it can still work fine, even if you do want to, and it also works fine even if you want to use it for the shadow part. It's just not as good because it doesn't really have that much health, and once it's gone, it's gone. You basically don't have any more shadow aura. So yeah, basically, and now we're gonna talk about the competitors for Nocturne, this being Moonflower specifically. So Moonflower basically, like, it kind of serves as a similar purpose because really all you just have to do to do a similar job to a Nocturne can do, excluding the damage, is just planting a wall or something in front of it so that zombies can kill it faster, or maybe plant a pumpkin around it. So yeah, Nocturne is already unimpressive compared to Moonflower because you can just plant a pumpkin on Moonflower and and GG's, you're done. You already have good source. And moonflower can also produce sun, so another bonus. And concealment, which is another one of the competitors, also does the. Now you might be saying, well, concealment is only temporary, like Noctarine. So what is there to compare in terms of their shadow aura? Well, concealment, even though it's temperate with the shadow aura, it can also boost plants, meaning that it's actually worth it. So even though you're gonna lose it, it is actually worth it, and you can also just, I don't know, use plant food to instantly recharge it. Plants like infinite of it. So yeah. So the second factor of Noctarine is its damage, which is which is kind of decent, I guess, but it's not too impressive. So its damage is at level 1 is 50, which is not bad for a plant. It's decent. Yeah, it's not that bad for plants, and leveling up will somewhat help it, but now we're gonna focusing on the shadow aura, as I mentioned earlier. So yeah, and another thing is that Noctarine also doesn't really like the damage doesn't really last for that long. It makes kind of like a chili bean sort of thing with the gas. It's just not stalling like Stunyon. So yeah, I can't really use it so much. It does damage zombies, but it's not, like I said, it only has 50 damage, so it's not impressively strong. So yeah. So in conclusion, Noctarine is not a really good plant, I guess we could say, since it gets outclassed by Moonflower and Concealment respectively. While it may not be countered by Gloomvine impressively, Gloomvine can still be used as kind of a way for it to make shadow aura. Even if you're not going to use it with a shell plant, it's still somewhat better in producing the shadow aura than what Noctarine can do, since even if you're just going to plant like a nut, like if you're going to plant a nut around the Gloomvine, you're still going to have something, and if you do want to use the shadow aura, you can also protect it with and so that's kind of like one of the bad things, I guess we could say, with Noctarine. So its damage is decent. I'll give it that. The damage is decent for a plant, since there are worse plants out there that cannot really do that much damage. So basically, its damage is like fine, but the shadow aura is not that good, as like I said earlier, Moonflower and Concealment counter it like really badly. So yeah, because Moonflower, you can just plant a pumpkin something in front of it. You're gonna place it really far down into the lane. You can just plant something like a pumpkin on it, and then you're gonna get the same result as a Noctarine. And even if you don't want to protect it, there's also many ways that you can do some of the defensive part with stalls, such as Stalia, Stunyon, Iceberg Lettuce, Slime Warp, and a lot of the containment family plants. So yeah, that was Noctarine. Keep in mind that this is all my opinion, so you don't have to agree with anything I say in this video. You might even like Noctarine. Some people might hate it. Some people might agree with me. But like I said, this is just my opinion, so you don't have to agree with me on what I said on this video about it. I know there's a lot of potential for this plant, but to be honest, in my eyes, I don't really see it as that much of a good plant when you factor in its shadow aura. Since remove the shadow aura and just make it somewhat of a kind of weaker cherry bomb, then this plant is honestly somewhat decent. So yeah, that concludes if Noctarine is worth it. If you want to try it out for yourself, then you still can, as I think there's still time during the plant of the week for it to try and get it, but it's not too long. So yeah, if you want to try and get your hands on it, then you definitely can. So yeah, anyway, it's gonna be it for this video. I hope you liked it, and let me know if I do more stuff this in the future. So yeah, hope you have a great day, and yeah, bye.